Hello everyone, this is Clossi, and I'm back with another video in this 925Q series. In this section, we're going to be doing our first game review, and we're going to be reviewing an 8Q versus an 8Q, and we're going to talk about thickness. This will help us actually set up for our opening video that'll be coming soon. So in this video, we're going to talk about how the thickness should be used and how to use thickness in many scenarios actually, and also how to make sure that your thickness is getting value. So first off, let's go to our example here, and we can see that black immediately got some thickness here. However, instead of keeping up the thickness and going for the center like so, he actually went down. Now, this is fine for what it is, but then we get to here, and you can see that it's been kind of pushed down and that these two stones look kind of pointless. Additionally, white ended up getting thickness instead of black. Now, if we proceed with the game, we can see that white feels a little bit good here because white has extensions along two sides and all the stones are working together, and black feels kind of pushed down right here. And then we can see some questionable Josekis. Getting a lot of weak groups. And getting a weak group inside of white's area, so that way he can use his thickness to attack. Now, we're not getting into all the specifics of the reading, etc., etc. We just want to talk about if black and white are utilizing their thickness properly. I still find it funny that they're missing a net. Alright, so let's go back a bit. So let's go up to the top right corner. First things first, let's look at the top right corner. Black made a position that you can kind of call small thickness. Now, granted, he should have made this exchange. But now, instead of pincering and trying to attack immediately, I think it's better to get an extension here. And then white gets an extension, and then black can come over here and stop the extension from this thickness. I think this would be a little bit better because we want to think about the first thing that thickness wants is usually it wants an extension. Now, this isn't always the case, but it's definitely something to take note of. Thickness wants an extension. An extension's usually 4 or 5 spaces. Normally it's 5 spaces on an open side. Sometimes it could be 4 if there's weakness. An extension's usually 4 or 5 spaces, and this one actually maybe it would be better to go here. I was worried about getting cut off because I want a base. So for this one I wanted a base. The point is to get a base with the extension. Here you want to get an extension so that way you're alive, you're fine, and then you have complete control of that side. And when you are stopping your opponent's extension like this, now you can see it becomes very easy to live with this little wedge right here because you have Miai for an extension. And you see this thickness right here actually doesn't get that much value. Yeah, it gets some, so it's not completely pointless. But compared to if black simply played a normal move like this and white got a move like this, you can see this side looks really, really big. Now, if you both have an extension, usually taking your own is safer rather than taking your opponent's. If you want to get into the specifics of whether you should let your opponent get an extension or not, well, it depends on which one's bigger and how the reading plays out. But normally the rule of thumb is if both players need an extension, go ahead and just take yours first. It's safer. And that's why in the top right here, we can say that we want our base so that way and threaten to attack our opponent. So that way we're safe and the only weakness is in white's area. And if white fixes, then we still have Sente. You could Another option is actually come back and do a 2-space high to reduce the thickness. This is also possible. Just be aware that after you play exchanges like this, white can take your base too. It all comes back down to the base, pretty much, and efficiency, of course. But yeah, so make sure your thickness is getting an extension. It's quite important, I think, and it'll really help you guys out on utilizing thickness. The second thing that you want to think about is the profit that you get. So let's say white played all these moves in the center right here. So yeah, he pushed black down, so there's already a little local profit by pushing black down right here and making black's thickness kind of useless. But let's say it was just a neutral position. Then when black gets to play this wedge right here, the only profit that white gets is actually a local profit right here. And additionally, if white chose this side and black was able to do something like this, now you can see the profit of this thickness. I'm not saying these 4 stones on the third line right here, they get profit right here. I'm talking about these 4 stones in the center, this thickness right here. The profit here isn't that valuable, even if you get in a move like this. It doesn't really do much or gain much. So you can see that this thickness right here, assuming everything else is even, didn't gain much. So that's why you really want to pay attention to your thickness getting an extension and having value. All right, so this is the quick example I wanted to show you guys, was this game, because I thought this game was a good example to understand some thickness. But now let's talk about a little bit about what you can do with thickness and what to look for in thickness. And I recommend writing these down because it's quite important to remember. So first off, thickness wants an extension. If it's on the side, usually it wants an extension to settle itself or to settle the position and gain strength. Thickness should always gain profit, but if you've watched my videos before, I say profit is one of 3 things. It's either gaining points, taking points, or saving something. Well, thickness can actually be used in either of those 3 ways. So you really want to understand and specify in your mind what that thickness is going to do. Is it going to gain points? Is it going to take points? Or is it going to be used to save something in the center or something far away? And you can do something like that. And so an example of gaining points is gaining an extension on the open side, like right here or something. That's an example of gaining points. An example of taking points would be if you use your thickness to support an invasion, then that would be taking points. And an example of saving something is just using your thickness to support a group running away, or saving an invasion usually, or saving a weak group, or supporting a weak group from afar to make sure it can't be attacked, etc., etc. That would be saving something. An exception to this rule is when you're using thickness to attack, but it's kind of an exception and it's kind of not. When you have thickness and you chase your opponent's weak group towards your thickness, then you're using it to attack, but when you attack, you are still going to gain one of the 3 profits. So by using thickness to attack, by pushing your opponent towards your thickness, you should still gain something, save something, or take something. You should still be gaining one of those 3 profits. So make sure you guys are definitely looking for that and utilizing thickness to gain profit. And make sure your thickness gets an extension if it's not doing anything else. If it's just on an open side, make sure it gets an extension. That's something I've been seeing. Is not letting your thickness get an extension, and sometimes your thickness actually, let's see, I think we can actually see it in this game. Sometimes your thickness actually becomes a weak group. So in this game, Atari lived and then invaded. So right here, white could very easily go right here, and now this is nothing but a weak group. You had a good position, all you needed was a base, but now it's just nothing but a weak group. So be very wary of that. Make sure your thickness is alive, make sure it has a base, or it's doing something on the board. It's really important because thickness that doesn't do anything is actually a lot of wasted moves. So thickness is very powerful, but if thickness doesn't have any value, any profit, or anything like that, then your thickness is actually dame, basically. And it's a lot of wasted moves. It might even be a weak group, which is a negative value, or it might just have 0 value. So definitely make sure that your thickness is getting extensions, make sure they're alive, and make sure they're getting a profit. That profit is very important. All right, so that's my quick lecture on using thickness. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.